Chapter 1198. A few days later, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still leisurely spending their vacation in Idyll with a group of retired old men. They hunted in the mountains and fished in the water, living a very comfortable life. Xiao Bei and the 9 children had yet to return to Wenshan County, but the situation in the county had changed. Wang Chang's family was escorted to Idyll and handed over to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. After a short period of training, they were sent to Duoshi to study the eating habits of the locals. At the same time, they were to create new dishes in preparation for the next step of the soft invasion. Objectively speaking, Wang Chang was unwilling to go. Not only was it tiring, but it was also dangerous. Objectively speaking, he did not dare to not go. When he was the county magistrate, he did not do what a county magistrate should do. To put it lightly, he was not capable enough and was not suitable for the position of county magistrate. To put it bluntly, he was clearly derelict in his duties. He did not care about the lives and happiness of the county's people. He did not care about the laws and regulations that the imperial court valued. His actions even shook the country's rule over the area. With such a heavy accusation, Wang Chang thought about his mother, wife, and children and happily agreed to the job of researching food. Most importantly, his family could continue to live in Idyll City. The restaurants would deliver food to them. Wenshan's Gongsun Weiyu smoothly took over the position of county magistrate. The imperial court's letter of appointment had already left the capital and would arrive in the county in a few days. With power in his hands, Gongsun Weiyu relied on Xiao Bei and the others to start cleaning up the disobedient people in the yamen and promoting his own people. Even the authority of the registrar was given out. The people who were being cleaned up did not dare to speak out. They did not even dare to be angry. Without any restraints, Gongsun Weiyu governed according to his own administrative philosophy. A series of decrees were passed out, and the county's people followed suit. Xiao Bei and the others did not stay idle. Although they said they were going for a stroll, they actually ran to the place where Gongsun Weiyu wanted to build the cement factory. They first built the cement kiln and then started to burn the cement. When Xiao Bei brought the finished cement sample to Gongsun Weiyu was stunned. He then said worriedly, "There is a technique to burn cement. You can't just look at the finished product. You also have to protect the person who burns the cement. If you directly build it, it will be easy for something to happen." What happened? Little Bei looked up and asked. The first is the quality of the finished product, the second is the safety, and the third is the transportation. These 3 points cannot be reduced. I am currently waiting for the imperial court to send someone over. Gongsun Weiyu sighed and said helplessly. Xiao Bei carefully looked at Gongsun Weiyu and asked, "Have you become muddle-headed from being a county magistrate? You're asking the imperial court for technology." Gongsun Weiyu nodded, "That's right. Why do you care which part of the imperial court needs technology?" Xiao Bei asked again. "Ministry of Works," Gongsun Weiyu answered. "Who am I?" Xiao Bei asked. "Zhang Xiaobei. I'm the daughter of the Minister of Works. The cement was made by my family in Luzhou. You asked the Ministry of Works for technical support, but you're questioning me. County Magistrate Gongsun, you should rest for 2 days. Don't overwork your brain." Compared to Gongsun Weiyu's helplessness earlier, Xiao Bei was even more helpless now. She pointed at the cement on the table and said, 3 days later, we'll gather a batch of cement and bring it out. We'll help the county promote it. You should consider the transportation problem. The stability of ships traveling by water is very important. If we're traveling by land, I've already experienced the joy of hiking mountains. If you want to build roads, we can support you with a batch of explosives." Gongsun Weiyu blushed and nodded repeatedly. The main reason was that the imperial court had been promoting the Ministry of Works vigorously in recent years. Many people had forgotten where the source of technology was. The truth was that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had their own research institute. All large-scale research projects were placed in the Ministry of Works. All small-scale research projects were carried out at home. It was convenient for the two of them to monitor the progress at any time. They could also guide and teach. 3 days later, Little Bay and the others planned to leave after the cement kiln produced a batch of cement that they could take with them. Before leaving, they treated all the children in the school to a meal. They had been eating in the school's cafeteria for the past few days. To them, the taste was very bad, but they still persevered. During the meal, they didn't mention leaving. Only when the children were full and constantly reminiscing about the delicious food that Xiao Bei and Xiao Yuan had treated them to did Xiao Bei mention that they were leaving Wenshan. The children were stunned for a moment, then began to cry. The 9 people kept comforting them, saying that when the children grew up, they could come and play with them, or they could come over when they had time. After a while, the children finally realized that no matter how much they urged Xiao Bei and the others to stay, they had to leave. One by one, they began to prepare gifts. There were small wooden swords that they had cut themselves, bags made of rags, sachets filled with local medicinal herbs, and beautiful feathers from the pheasant's tail. Xiao Bei and the others didn't stand on ceremony. They accepted the gifts from others and hugged them goodbye. After being sent to the road outside the county, the children had to go back. Next was the gifts from the adults. In addition to the cement that they helped transport, there were also local specialties from the county, waxed meat from home, air-dried pheasants, fried noodles made of butter, and large amounts of century eggs and duck meat. The poor Wenshan County citizens gave almost everything they had. Xiao Bei and the others accepted all of it, but they didn't send anything back for the time being. They were waiting to sell the cement and spend more money elsewhere to buy other daily necessities before getting someone to send them back. They walked and stopped from noon until they reached the border of Wenshan County at night. Gong Sun Weiyu stopped the people who wanted to continue sending them off. He stood on the flat ground, intending to watch Xiao Bei's group disappear from sight. Xiao Bei walked more than 100 meters before turning around and returning. He said to the puzzled Gong Sun Weiyu, "I thought of something. During my days in the county, I realized that everyone's lighting wasn't good enough." Gong Sun Weiyu suddenly understood and asked, "You want to build a power plant in this county and send light bulbs? What are you thinking about? Just wait and see if there's a chance in a few years. I see that everyone uses resin oil and fat oil. Some people even rest at night when it's dark. The children's lights are harmful to their eyes. Arrange for someone to make candlesticks now. I want to send 100,000 sticks of paraffin wax over," Xiao Bei said. Paraffin wax. Used by the rich and powerful in the capital? Gong Sun Weiyu didn't understand paraffin wax. The rich and powerful in the capital use light bulbs. The cost of paraffin wax is very low, and it's a very depressing byproduct. The people in the petrochemical department of the Ministry of Works are constantly fighting with paraffin wax. It's like the ash left behind after burning charcoal in a kiln. It needs to be cleaned up. If we have to talk about cost, it's the transportation cost. Recently, oil processing has increased, so there's a lot of paraffin wax in the capital. We've discussed and decided to leave a small portion for other places to use. We'll buy the rest and ship it over here. We'll send 100,000 sticks to Wenshan County." Xiao Bei explained to Gong Sun Weiyu like a good teacher. Gong Sun Weiyu pondered for a moment before saying worriedly, "It's too far to ship it from the capital. It's easy for the candles to break on the bumpy road. Also, the cost of transporting and buying them isn't small. Have you discussed this with young Master Xiaobao?" "What's there to discuss? It's our own money. We can use it however we want. Why would we look for my brother and sister for such a trivial matter? Also, who told you that the paraffin wax is shipped over one stick at a time? It's buckets at a time. If it wasn't for the fact that the weather is too hot, we could have just piled it up and shipped it over. Once it's shipped over, our new processing workshop will be ready. We can provide work for some people, especially the women who can't find work at home. Xiao Bei realized that he was really smart. He knew a lot of things that Gong Sun Weiyu didn't know. Gong Sun Weiyu continued to have an expression of being taught. He pondered and said expectantly, "Can we move the processing area to Wenshan County? We have the manpower, and the price is low. Don't count on it. Unless you can build a spacious road and solve the problem of animal labor. Remember to make a wax stand. The bottom is like a small bowl. It can catch the excess melted wax. It won't be wasted and is easy to clean. Bamboo is good, but it needs to be polished smooth. It's best if there's a buckle at the bottom that can be easily replaced." Xiao Bei reminded him again, then shook his head. He seemed to think that Gong Sun Weiyu was a child who couldn't be taught. The other Yamen officials and commoners beside Gong Sun Weiyu also felt that the usually smart official had become stupid today. If it was another high-ranking official, they would probably be angry. It was said that high-ranking officials had bad tempers. Gong Sun Weiyu had indeed become stupid. He felt that there was no need to be anxious about what Xiao Bei said, so he suggested, "There are other things to do in the county. It's easy to make wax stands. Why don't we wait until it's shipped to the county? There's no rush for now. If you insist on making us do it now, we will do it." At this time, Xiao Yuan, who had followed behind, was unhappy. "It's as if we are forcing you. We want to ship a lot of paraffin wax. You only think about your own county's use and not others. My Xiao Bei wants you to organize people to make a lot of wax stands, then ship them out from the river and sell them outside. As soon as our wax arrives, we will immediately make a lot of candles. Before others can react, our county can ship out a batch of wax stands and sell them directly. The more exquisite, nimble, and convenient you make them, the higher the price. Isn't it good to seize the opportunity to earn a sum of money and make a name for Wenshan County's reputation? I'm now wondering how you graduated from Jinjia Academy. You actually missed the opportunity to make a fortune. How did I become yours?" Xiao Bei glared at Xiao Yuan, then turned to Gong Sun Weiyu and said, "You have to be flexible. You have to be flexible as an official. You have to be like a child who dares to fantasize. You have to be as strict as a craftsman. You have to be like an opportunist looking for opportunities. Our dynasty's development is not bad, but there are two problems with officials. First, local officials only understand the local situation, but don't understand the new way of thinking. They don't know how to change, and don't even think about changing the status quo. Second, officials from the imperial court feel that they have learned a lot of theories and can do a lot of things when they go to the local area. In the end, they are not familiar with the local situation and blindly give orders, slapping their heads and making decisions, then leaving after making a mistake. In the end, the moment they leave, they will be dealt with. Do they think that our Tang dynasty's countless patrol officers are just decorations?" Gong Sun Weiyu nodded repeatedly and looked at Xiao Bei with fear. "Little girl, you really know a lot." The old man appeared again. He walked forward and patted Xiao Bei's head. Xiao Bei blushed and said embarrassedly, "Brother and sister told us on the boat. They also said a lot of other things, but I didn't remember them." "That's not bad. What you remember is very useful." The old man continued to praise her. Thank you, thank you. We're really leaving. We'll come back again in the future." "Hey, what are you crying for? We're leaving Wenshan County, not going to die." We'll be able to eat good food once we reach Idyll. To be honest, I've been having a hard time eating the school cafeteria these past few days. Some of the dishes aren't even seasoned properly. I'm going to enjoy my life. After leaving behind a bunch of words, Xiao Bei pulled Xiao Yuan and skipped away. The people sending them off silently watched the group disappear from sight. For a long time, no one made a sound. It was only when a flock of wild birds flew up from the trees that the crowd came to their senses. What a good child. It's a pity she's gone. How good would it be if she stayed in the county forever? A man who had helped carry the thing said reluctantly. One can't be too selfish. If she stays here forever, what about others? Later, we'll have the school cafeteria changed to a smaller pot. Xiao Bei and the others are really too much. They don't say anything even if it's not good. I don't see them eating less and eating happily. So it's because they're holding it in. Sigh. The old man suddenly felt his heart ache and was even angrier. The school cooks were not cooking properly. Gongsun Weiyu also said, of course, what do they usually eat? The last meal today was cooked by them. We've all tasted it, right? It's a world of difference. If I had children like Xiao Bei and the others, I'd give them my heart and liver, another person said. Gongsun Weiyu and Weiwei smiled. It's not just you, it's the same for everyone. If Xiao Bei follows His Majesty to court, she will sit on the same dragon chair as His Majesty. Even the officials of the censorate will pretend they don't know. Ha! The people around them exclaimed. The old man said in disbelief, not impeaching. Impeachment is fine. If any official dares to stand up and impeach Xiao Bei and the others, His Majesty will first send someone to investigate this official. If you want to make a name for yourself by stepping on Xiao Bei, you'll have to pay with your life. Moreover, even if the impeachment is successful, His Majesty will first issue an edict of self-guilt, and then Xiao Bei will admit her mistake. You can't cut off the head of a child like her, right? At most, she'll be sentenced to exile. Will they care? When Minister Zhang from the Ministry of Works went to Luzhou, others thought he was being exiled. But now, what's happening to Luzhou? Gongsun Weiyu said with a smile. After saying that, he laughed heartily. The others were also very happy. Go back. Find someone to make a wax stand. It has to be carefully designed. When the paraffin wax comes, we'll make a profit first. As expected of Xiao Bao's sister, you can think of a way to make money in the blink of an eye. I'll draw a simple logo and put the logo on everything produced in the county. With a wave of his hand, Gongsun Weiyu led the people back. The torches flickered, the wind was comfortable, and the night was enchanting. Let's go to Weizhou. Xiao Bei asked someone to bring a map and asked Sister Xiao Zhu about the location. She pointed to the west of Weizhou. We're not going back to Weizhou. Little Yuan still wanted to go back and eat good food. Who will we sell the cement to in Weizhou? Weizhou is more remote. We have to buy things and send them to Wenshan first. They gave us most of the things in their house. What if they starve to death? Using the light, Xiao Bei held a boiled duck and gnawed on it. It was a freshly cooked duck. He ate 2 mouthfuls and drank some water. It was spicy. Little Yuan reached out and plucked a wing from Xiao Bei's duck. She nodded and said, "That's right. I support you." Thus, the group changed their route and headed for Weizhou. Because they needed to carry some things, they had to travel for 3 days over the mountains before they arrived at a county near Weizhou called Yuanqing, which was also part of Maozhou. This place was less than 6 hours away from the main city of Weizhou. We're arriving at night again. Let's set up camp. It's a mess inside. There's no place to set up camp. Xiao Bei felt sorry for the people in the group. It was not a special situation. There was no need to be tired all the time. It was not worth it to force the troops to walk all the way. The accompanying guards and logistics personnel did not think much of it. They treated it as training. Usually, they would train once every 20 days to maintain their combat strength. They could face any emergency and be pulled out to fight. They could win the battle and take pride in it. They were an elite team that had 24 hours, all weather and all terrain. The next morning, a portion of the group hurriedly ate breakfast and followed the little ancestors to Tunghua County to take a look at the situation. If there were enough resources, they could buy them and get someone to send them to Wenshan. The group did not enter and went directly to the main city of Weizhou. The group of about 100 people walked for half an hour before they finally saw the main road. It was about 3 meters wide and had green grass and red, white, and purple wildflowers growing on it. On one side of the road was a wasteland, and on the other side was farmland. It could be seen that barley was planted there. The seedlings were uneven, probably because no one took good care of them. Xiao Bei picked up the binoculars and said happily, "It's better than Wenshan. There are signs of people in front. Are we walking in a village or outside a city?" "It's inside a city. There are no outer city walls outside Tunghua County. There are no earthen walls. It's only an area because there are troops stationed in Weizhou." Xiao Zhu had a deeper understanding of maps. She could even draw many maps of the Great Tang down to the county. "Let's go in. If we had known earlier, we would have eaten less. We could have tried the local delicacies of Tunghua County." Xiao Bei began to regret. She had drunk a large bowl of chili soup, stuffed 3 fried cakes, half a plate of dried tofu in chili oil, and 2 tea eggs. Perhaps it was too early, but there was no one on the road. There was only the shadow of an old man herding sheep on the side of the mountain before disappearing again. After walking for about 10 minutes, the group saw houses and people carrying poles in front of them. Just as it was about to be lively, there was a commotion behind them. "Get out of the way, get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get out of the way." The voices came from different people. Xiao Bei and the others were shocked and quickly hid in the wasteland by the side of the road. The guards had already put their hands on the guns under their clothes. "Wait first. Maybe there's something urgent," Xiao Hai instructed. Everyone turned their heads to look at the group of people behind them. After a few glances, the number of people was estimated to be between 500 and 600. They took up about 3 meters of the road. They formed a long line and walked forward in a mighty manner. The 6 people who had started to curse stared at Xiao Bei and the others with vigilance. At the same time, they were panting. It seemed that they had just run over. After a while, the group behind them came over. There were 2 rows of 40 people in front of them holding poles. The poles had flags on them. There was a cartoon pattern of alfalfa on the flags. This group of people slowly passed by. Then, a shout of "light drum" sounded. Behind the 40 people, there were 20 people with small drums hanging from their waists. They quickly and lightly hit the drum sticks. Dong, dong, dong. The continuous sound lingered in everyone's ears. Then, there were 100 people wearing dark green close-fitting tunics. Each of them had a sword at their waist. The tassels of their swords reached the ground. They walked over with their heads held high. Then, there was a group of horses. It was hard to count at the moment. Anyway, there were 2 horses moving side by side. There were people on the horses. When they walked over, they counted that there were 60 horses. After the group of horses, there were 8 people carrying a house. A palanquin. A palanquin with a cover around it. Anyway, It was something with a frame around it and a curtain over the frame. There were 11 of these things in a row. Behind these things were also 100 people carrying swords. They were a little further away, so they couldn't be seen clearly. However, there were mules. They were probably supplies. At this time, one of the things in the middle of the 11 frames, which was the 6th one, arrived in front of Xiao Bei and the others. Following the order to stop from inside, the 8 people carrying this thing stopped moving. After a few breaths, the curtain at the window of this thing was lifted from inside, revealing a face. It looked to be around 14 or 15 years old. Because its hair was not tied up, it was clear that it was less than 15 years old. The slightly older child scanned the faces of Xiao Bei and the others twice. His mouth opened slightly, and he exerted force in his abdomen. He asked with a nasal voice, "Who are you people? Where did you come from?" Xiao Bei and the others didn't say anything. They just sized up this older child. "My young master is asking you a question. Are all of you mute or deaf?" A person in brown silk who was following beside this thing asked. Immediately, Xiao Bei's eyes lit up. He seemed very excited. Xiao Yuan and the others also looked excited. "Yo! You still don't want to say anything? Do you think that we can't do anything to you if you don't say anything? If you don't know what's good for you, we'll teach you a lesson. There are quite a lot of people. TSK, TSK, TSK. These little fellows are quite exquisite." The person who spoke just now was obviously a manager or someone carrying a flag started to criticize them again. At this moment, Xiao Bei's breathing became hurried. He rubbed his hands together and said in a timid voice, We are just passing by and want to go to the county to buy something. We are hungry and haven't eaten in the morning. We will leave after we finish buying." "Really? Really?" The older child in the car repeated her words in a crooked voice. He looked at Xiao Bei from head to toe, grinned, and said affectionately, "What do you want to buy, little girl? Tell Big Brother. If Big Brother is happy, maybe he will give it to you for free." Usually, people called Xiao Bei little lady because it was a habit of speaking. However, when this young man called her little lady, it was definitely a tease. Xiao Bei's face was red, and his eyes were about to narrow from smiling. He excitedly stuck out his tongue and continued, I want to buy something to eat. Rice, noodles, meat, and vegetables. There are so many people, so we need to eat. Yes, yes. We need to eat. If this little lady is hungry, this young master's heart will ache. Little sister, where are you from? What does your family do? The young man was even happier. He opened his mouth and smiled. His 2 big buck teeth didn't reflect the beauty of other people's tiger teeth. Xiao Yuan was unhappy. We came from the east. Our family does everything. It's hard to explain in a short time. You go on your way. Shut up. Did this young master ask you a question? There is a saying that illness comes from the mouth and disaster comes from the mouth. Today, this young master is in a good mood. There are beautiful things waiting for me in the county, so I will let you go for now. Little sister, let's go together. Come to Big Brother's carriage. The young man reprimanded Xiao Yuan and then began to talk to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei nervously shook his head. No, we're going different ways. I won't go in. After saying this, he hid behind someone else. Won't go in. If you don't go in, you'll starve. Big Brother is waiting for you in the county. And you, brat, I don't care who you are. In Tonghua, if you're a dragon, you have to give this young master a plate. If you're a tiger, you have to lie down for me. If you want to be a tortoise, don't show your head. Otherwise, I'll smash your shell. In Tunghua, this young master doesn't need a reason to deal with people. Let's go. We'll wait for my little sister in the county. The young man closed his eyes and raised his chin. The curtains were drawn down. The group continued to move forward. The steward looked at Xiao Bei and the others again. The corners of his mouth curled up. He coldly snorted, raised his head, and walked away. Behind them was indeed an army of supplies. They grandiosely walked in front of Xiao Bei and the others, kicking up a lot of dust. Little girl, not counting the people inside that thing, there are exactly 600 people, a steward reported to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei had been rubbing his hands the whole time. When he heard the voice, he beamed with joy and nodded vigorously. After a while, his eyes turned into crescent moons. He said to Xiao Yuan, this is great. What did Big Brother and Big Sister say? Yes, it's that those with aspirations will succeed. Cut off the cauldrons and sink the boats. 200 Qin passes will eventually belong to Chu. Those who work hard, the heavens will not let them down. They will endure hardships to taste their goal. 3,000 Yujia can swallow Wu. Can't this be considered as the beginning of a happy ending? Ha 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 ha, do you see? Do you see? If I didn't say we were going to Weizhou, we would have gone straight back to Yizhou. How could we have come across such a good thing? I only realized today that you're really handsome, Xiao Yuan. When Xiao Bei said this happily, he hugged Xiao Yuan's head and kissed him hard on the face. Xiao Yuan's face instantly turned red. He muttered, I've always been handsome. Be reserved, Xiao Hai said to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei kissed Xiao Hai again. Big brother, I realize that you're also very handsome. Xiao Hai looked at the sky helplessly and didn't say anything. Xiao Bei took out a bottle of fruit juice from his bag and drank a few mouthfuls to calm his emotions. He said to the person beside him, Uncle Zhang, we have to think of a way to get in, right? We can't take this route anymore. That brat will probably be waiting for us. Help me think of a way. I'm going to secretly investigate today. The person Xiao Bei called Uncle Zhang was naturally the third steward of the Zhang family and the Wang family. He was in charge of the little ancestors' affairs. When he heard Xiao Bei's words, he began to mourn for the people who had just passed by. Along the way, the little ancestors had been looking forward to the stars and the moon, hoping to find someone to tidy them up. Unfortunately, the two officials they had met before hadn't been able to do so. Now, the heavens had finally fulfilled their wishes. Whose child was that? If the procession's ceremonial guards were to be added with some illegal items, it would be an official of the third rank or above. Moreover, it would be an official procession, not the usual ceremonial guards used to attend court. For example, they would go to the lower ranks to inspect the lower ranks, welcome the princes and above from the foreign vassals, or accompany the emperor's ceremonial guards to serve as a foil. The difference was that there was no gong to open the road. The 8 people didn't carry a carriage, and there were no yellow silk umbrellas on top. Those who had weapons wore swords instead of knives, axes, and halberds. Otherwise, they would be directly executed and their entire family would be executed. Even so, it was enough to show off. The main problem was that he had offended the little ancestors. The little ancestors were usually humble, but that didn't mean that they didn't have a temper. Just as the brat who didn't know how he would die in the future said, there was no need for a reason to deal with people in Tonghua. Then, the little ancestors of the Zhang family didn't need an explanation when deciding the life and death of people in the whole world. However, they had never done so before. With a sigh, this Uncle Zhang, who was also the third steward Zhang Qing, started to come up with ideas. If the Lord was worried, the Lord would work, and if the Lord was humiliated, the Lord would die. Just based on the matter just now, even if the brat was considered to be light, it would be 80 strokes of the cane or 200 strokes of the whip. It just depended on the status of the little ancestors. Little ancestor, we have to take a detour and split up first. After disguising ourselves, we will gather in the county town. You can't go there first. Wait until we send people to find a place to stay and hide, then you can go there. Zhang Qing said to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei nodded. Okay. Uncle Zhang has troubled you. This is what I think. It's really not that we want to bully him. Look, we were standing by the roadside. When his procession came, we moved aside, right? However, he still wanted to bully us. Not only did he tease me, but he also scolded Xiao Yuan. Who is Xiao Yuan? He's my future husband, right? Shouldn't I be considerate of my husband? Xiao Yuan was stunned when he heard this. He thought to himself, you're right. Why didn't you say that in the past? Furthermore, I can guarantee that you will bully me the next time you turn around. Are you really that shameless when it comes to diplomacy? How could Xiao Bei know what Xiao Yuan was thinking? She smiled sweetly at Xiao Yuan and continued, also, there's that. He dares to bully so many of us. It can be seen how arrogant he is. It was likely that he had done a lot of things like bullying men and women and disregarding human lives. If we don't deal with him, we won't be able to appease the anger of the people. If we don't deal with him, we won't be able to uphold the might of the heavens. If we don't deal with him, we won't be able to. My Xiao Bei, as long as you tell me to do anything to him, this old servant will do anything to him. You don't have to waste your time looking for reasons and excuses. Zhang Qing tried to persuade them. Suddenly, he felt that his little brats were still the best. Before they acted, they would always find the other party's fault. It had been like this all along the way. If they couldn't find the other party's fault, they would just bear with it, even if they really wanted to find someone to teach them a lesson. Xiao Bei smiled. Punishing without teaching is called torture. I'm different from him. He thinks that he has some power in a place, so he's so arrogant. He bullies his own people and outsiders to show off his power. I'm in charge of the lives of the officials of the Great Tang. Who do I need to show off my abilities to? He's afraid that others aren't afraid of him, so he wants to suppress everyone. I hope that the officials of the Great Tang aren't afraid of me. It shows that they are righteous and upright. It's a blessing for the people of the Great Tang. Those who fear me have a guilty conscience. This old servant is lucky to be able to follow the little lady and the little young masters. This old servant is very lucky. After Xiao Bei finished speaking, Zhang Qing knelt on the ground and shouted. The others also knelt down and shouted. All right, get up. I'm quite embarrassed. I don't usually see you kneeling. Are you crazy today? You believe a few words to fool people. Help me find out. I'm going to teach him a lesson. Xiao Bei said bashfully with a red face. Thus, the people who were kneeling just now all stood up. They were all expressionless, as if nothing had happened just now. Zhang Qing found a few people to disguise themselves and entered the county. The rest of the people retreated and found a place far away from the main road to hide. They would wait for the people to come back. Seeing the little ancestor quietly sitting there and waiting, Zhang Qing revealed a comfortable smile. He knew that he didn't need to send people to find any evidence. He could just directly crush the other party. But since the little ancestor wanted to play, he could only accompany them. It had been a long and tiring journey, so it was good to have some fun. An hour later, the people he sent came back one after another. They brought back quite a few clothes and 4 land deeds. Half an hour later, Xiao Bei and the other 9 people were dressed up in various ways. Some were carried on poles, some were led by people who were beaten up as if they were escaping, and some were carried on people's backs as if they were sick. The group took a detour and entered the county. The population of Tunghua County was actually much smaller than that of Wenshan, but there were few villages in Tunghua County. At the same time, most of the people who were registered lived in the county. Unlike Wenshan, where more than 20 villages were registered, there were many people in the other mountains who were not registered. There were also people who were not registered in Tunghua County. They also lived in the mountains or sailed by the river. No one was willing to check their household register. Naturally, these 2 places were still okay. For example, Luzhou, when he was registered in a province, there were only a few people. However, when the mountain people left the mountains, they registered one after another. They could easily choose young and strong men to form a large army. They were the legendary Guangxi wolf soldiers. They were short, strong, and good at swimming in the jungle. They were good at ambushing and using poison. They often jumped and attacked head-on and loved to cut off the enemy's head. They were uneducated and held grudges. They would be loyal if they were subdued. It was precisely because of this that when Zhang Zhong brought his family from Luzhou to Shuzhou, no one wanted to kill them. When the wolf soldiers fought against the imperial court as tribes, it was very difficult to destroy them. They were usually pacified. Once they formed an army, no one dared to touch them. Chapter 1199. Because the businesses of the families under investigation were only concentrated in Tunghua and were not big businesses, and there were no businesses of the Zhang family and Wang family in Tunghua County, the information obtained was not very detailed. The people sent out to investigate only had a rough understanding. From this, it could be seen that the Qin family did have power in the area, but it also showed that their family had not reached the level of 100% control of Tunghua County. If it were Sanshui County, outsiders would not be able to obtain any information if they directly inquired about the situation of the Zhang family and Wang family in Zhuangzi. At the same time, they would be targeted, and it would not be easy to leave. Xiao Bei and the other 9 people began the meeting. They expanded the meeting to allow the think tanks of the other families to participate. Xiao Bei spoke first. I have a question to ask. Please help me analyze it. Since the Qin family in Maozhou's Tunghua County is able to cover the sky with one hand, why didn't our inspection team find evidence of collusion between officials and merchants? Xiao Bei was asking about the 6 people in the left corner. These 6 people were dressed similarly. Every one of them wore loose clothes with high collars that completely covered their hands and necks. They even wore sunglasses, regardless of whether the room was dark or not. These 6 people were specially chosen. They were the best at scheming. If they stood in the front, they would not be able to do anything. If they were placed in the shadows, they would play a big role. Number 1, you speak. Xiao Yuan called out names. Because the 6 people did not like others to call their names directly, they used numbers instead. One of the 6 people lowered his head and covered his mouth with one hand. He said in a low voice, if I were in charge of the Qin family, I would consider the problem of the Tang Empire's inspection team. I would not give them direct evidence. At the same time, I would be willing to pay money to support the administrative plan of the county officials. After waiting for a while, Xiao Bei saw that he did not speak, so he asked, anything else? Let me add. Another person wearing sunglasses said, the reason why we can't find any problems is that when the Qin family was doing business, they did not hoard important livelihood goods and inflate the price of goods. When they force others to submit, they do not do it through force. They can use money and influence the people around them. In other words, even if someone was bullied by them, there is no evidence to prove that what they did was not in accordance with our dynasty's laws. Zhang Yang did not commit a crime. Xiao Bei started to worry. He really couldn't find any evidence of the other party's crimes. Could it be that he had to use his status to suppress them? Little Yuan suggested, give them a taste of their own medicine. Once it's confirmed that they're oppressing others through other means, we'll do the same. Continue the investigation. I don't believe that they are clean. Not to mention them, is my family clean? If it weren't for my brother and sister's strength, and my family's power, we would have been exterminated 10 times over. For example, last month, the construction of a precious candy house in Hunan province was going on around the clock. It was so noisy that the people around it couldn't rest well. Moreover, the pile of materials fell down, injuring 2 people. Normally speaking, they should stop working and send the person in charge to the authorities to be whipped. They would be locked up for at least 10 days to half a month. What did we do? If money was used, the construction site would continue as usual, and the matter would be over after paying the injured people a sum of money. It'll easily arouse the vigilance of Zhang Xiaobao and the others. Once they start investigating, we won't be able to hide from them no matter how hard we try. Who can hide from the Zhang family and Wang family's intelligence personnel? Back then, in the Jiangnan Dao, the 3 major powers moved together. It only prevented the Zhang family and Wang family's intelligence personnel from finding out where the main person was hiding. It wasn't that they couldn't find any clues. At that time, if the Zhang family and Wang family weren't anxious, they would eventually find out. In the end, we forced Zhang Xiaobao to make a move. As for the result, I think everyone already knows. I'm worried that we'll be found out when we sell the goods. If we don't sell the goods and keep them in our hands, the amount of fodder and manpower we consume every day is not a small amount. If we throw money into the goods that were originally going to be turned into money, how can the family business bear the cost? As soon as Chen Guangliang finished speaking, he also picked up his tea and drank. He only mentioned the problem, but didn't mention the slightest method to solve it. He pushed the problem to Chen Guangho. For a moment, the hall was so quiet that the sound of breathing was almost inaudible. The atmosphere in the hall suddenly became more oppressive. The 3 children of Qin Guangchuan's family kept their mouths shut and nervously clenched their small hands into fists. Qin Guangho's hands were crossed in front of his chest. His 2 thumbs were constantly moving around each other. Occasionally, he would stop and press the pads of his thumbs together. Just like that, a full quarter of an hour passed. When the children found it difficult to breathe, Qin Guangho let out a muffled groan from his nose. The weather is getting hotter and hotter. When there's a war, there's bound to be people transporting supplies. Our northern region of Jiangnan Dao will be more prosperous. Otherwise, they will be punished. Chapter 1200. In Idyll City, a grand banquet was being held in a restaurant. The entire restaurant was not open to the public. The old men from the sanatorium were sitting around 3 tables, drinking and chatting. From time to time, loud laughter and curses could be heard. The other tables were filled with people of different ages, all of whom were the children and grandchildren of the old men. The old men who came here would not work for nothing. Not only did they come here themselves, but they also brought the younger generation who was not in an important position in the imperial court. Their purpose was self-evident. Xiao Bao, looking at the dishes, it doesn't seem like you made them yourself. Let me taste them. Sure enough, they lacked the taste of home. Tell me, are you worthy of us who came here from thousands of miles away? We already have 1 foot in the coffin and half of our bodies buried in the ground. You still don't let us experience the feeling of home. How can you bear to do that? At the table, Baigo wolfed down a piece of lamb chop and swallowed it with narrowed eyes. He then drank a mouthful of wine and questioned Zhang Xiaobao, who was accompanying him. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Baigo with a strange expression and then glanced at the other old men who were eating. He wrinkled his nose and did not say a word. Wang Wan held back her laughter and picked up a piece of soft fried pork fillet for Baigo. She said sweetly, "Grandpa Bai, we usually eat the dishes made by the restaurant and feel that the taste is not bad. When the chefs of the restaurant see that we need to eat, they will specially adjust the ingredients. I don't feel that the food lacks the feeling of home." "Xiaobao, you explain. Look, you have made the grandpas misunderstand. Don't just sit there like a fool. It's good to make a toast. How can you let the grandpas nitpick?" Zhang Xiaobao did as he was told and raised his glass to toast everyone. He didn't say anything but just tilted his head back and downed the entire glass of wine. He smacked his lips and said, "It's a pity that the wine we brought out today is of a good vintage. I drank a lot of it in one gulp. My brother and sister have been thinking about it for a long time but haven't been able to drink to their heart's content." "Xiaobao, don't play dumb. Zhang Xiaobao and the others only drink a small cup of wine occasionally. Can you bear to let them drink freely?" Bai Shu saw that Zhang Xiaobao was changing the topic, so he immediately stopped him. Zhang Xiaobao took the wine that Wang Wan refilled, smiled, and said, "The dishes that the cooks of the restaurant made today are not bad. The dishes that they usually make are not in line with the taste of home because everyone has a different understanding of home. Therefore, the dishes they make are called common dishes, at most with the word 'fine' in front. I believe you can taste today's dishes. They are all authentic East City flavors. In the past, when you were an official in the capital, you ate the most Beijing food. After that, I went to Sanshui County to retire, so the taste changed slightly. Today, I asked someone to make a special Beijing flavor. Furthermore, the main problem is that I'm a regional commander, not a professional chef. Even if I'm a chef, I won't be able to cook all the dishes in the restaurant. So you admit that you didn't cook, right?" Bai Shu grasped the crux of the problem. "Well, Grandpa Bai, if you have any other requests, just say it. I will not refuse if I can help. What do you think?" Zhang Xiaobao simply did not beat around the bush. Bai Shu reached out his chopsticks to pick up the food on the plate and put it in his mouth to chew. After a while, he said to Yao Chong next to him with a smile, "Yung, try this fried pork belly. It really tastes like Changdong City. I remember that 10 or 8 years ago, eating the internal organs of animals became popular in the capital. In the past, people didn't eat it because they thought it was dirty. Later, it became. I remember when Long Zhe mentioned it. At that time, it was Xiao Bao's family who released many recipes for making internal organs. Everyone didn't want to waste them. Later, people everywhere started to eat them. Don't underestimate the internal organs of animals. I don't know how many are thrown away every day. There are people who can't eat meat. After eating intestines and livers, their stomachs have more oil and water. Their health is better, and their food consumption is also less. The Zhang family and the Wang family contributed a great merit." Yao Chong echoed. After he finished speaking, he raised his cup to Zhang Xiaobao as a sign of praise. So the old men at the table praised Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan one after another. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and suddenly felt that the situation was not good. There must be a reason for the old men to be so polite. They didn't know what they wanted the two of them to do. "Grandpa Bai, in fact, we haven't done enough. The Tang Empire is the Tang Empire's Tang Empire. Everyone is doing what they can. That's why our Tang Empire is flourishing like spring. We don't dare to claim credit." Wang Wan immediately became modest. If possible, she even wanted to pull Zhang Xiaobao and quickly leave here. It wasn't that this group of old men was bad, but that they definitely had something to trouble the two of them with. Otherwise, why would they use such methods? These old demons had already cultivated to the point where they didn't need to use their eyes to communicate smoothly. As soon as Wang Wan finished speaking, Yao Chong immediately said, whose contributions can't be denied. A few days ago, when we asked about Xiao Bei and the others, you said they were in Wenshan County. Why haven't they returned yet? I think they did a lot of good things in Wenshan. I'm not a child. Yes, yes, yes. Our Long is an adult. Can you let me ask you a few questions? Wang Wan smiled and said softly. Su Yilong lowered her head, okay. The people around them all focused on them, wanting to see what Xiao Bao would ask. Zhang Xiaobao stepped forward a few steps, reached out and patted Su Yilong's head, and asked, the first question, you said that there must be someone to learn from. Choose the good one and change, and follow the bad one. What does that mean? Others were stunned after hearing it. Su Yilong was also confused and said cautiously, you asked the wrong question. It means to choose the good one and follow it. It doesn't mean, answer the question. Zhang Xiaobao interrupted Su Yilong's correction. It's. I don't know. Su Yilong had never encountered such a question. It was obviously the wrong question, but she still needed to answer according to the wrong answer. What was she supposed to answer? Zhang Xiaobao shook his head disappointedly and said, you need to use your brain. Okay, I'll answer the first question for you. It means that this is the way of being an official. When 3 people walk together, there must be one who can learn from me. When 3 people walk together, they must all have the idea that I can be their teacher. As for me, as their teacher, I have to choose what is good and correct. In other words, I have to correct what they say. Otherwise, how can I show my ability? Follow the bad one, which means that they did something wrong, but I forgive them, which shows my generosity. This is the way of being an official. If you want to be an official, you should work together. Su Yilong opened her mouth wide and was not nervous. She was not intimidated by Wang Wan's beauty. Her whole person was in a state of shock. You don't believe it, right? If you don't believe it, ask your grandfather. Go. Zhang Xiaobao motioned Su Yilong to go back to his grandfather Su Jian and ask. What you mean is that when we are in charge of things, even if we do something wrong, we will not allow the people below to express any dissatisfaction. With a "pa" sound, Zhang Xiaobao's hand patted Su Yilong's shoulder and pressed down hard. He said happily, great, the answer is great. So, when we get out and encounter a fork in the road, I will let someone arrange for you to go to Tunghua County in Maozhou. Xiao Bei and the others are there. You can go and play with them. They have all kinds of people around them. Let's see how much you can learn. Su Yilong did not show a happy expression. He originally planned to let Zhang Xiaobao arrange a good thing for him to do. Why did he run to play with children? Why don't you thank Brother Xiaobao? Stupid. Su Yilong's grandfather, Su Jian, was happy instead. His eyebrows flew to both sides as he shouted at his ignorant grandson. Yes, thank you Brother Xiaobao. Su Yilong had to obediently thank him. And Big Sister, we have to thank Big Sister too. Wang Wan also wanted to thank her. Su Yilong's face turned red. He lowered his head and said in a mosquito-like voice, thank you, sister. Let's go back, let's hurry. Wang Wan finished and pulled Zhang Xiaobao to the car. The team continued to move forward. Su Ilong wanted to go to the team that just came, but was immediately called by his grandfather. Ilong, you are considered to be successful in the future. Work hard yourself. If there is a need, the family can provide resources. After all, you gave up a place. I originally planned to arrange it for you when you were 15 years old. Now it's not necessary. I can arrange other people in the family in your original position. In this case, other resources can be tilted to you. Su Jian finally said to his grandson what was in his heart. As a scholar of Jixin Courtyard, how could he not train the children in the family? It was just that there must be a sequence. If possible, how could he not arrange all the children in the family? But during the fight during the meal yesterday, he did not even care about his face. He owed a big favor and pushed the first child in the family to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. If he wanted to arrange other people, his face was worthless. How could it be easy to return the favor of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family? If he asked for more, what would he use to return it? Su Ilong's second brother straightened the paper in his hand and then read, "Ask, why do we see the lightning first and hear the sound later when it thunders? Grandpa, is it because the lightning is faster than the sound?" Yes. Su Jian nodded. Now everyone can learn basic nature and physics. But, after I told the answer to the person who followed me, he tore the place where the paper was stuck. The answer that was revealed was because the eyes grow in front of the ears. Su Ilong's second brother gritted his teeth and said. Su Jian was stunned. Read another question that you haven't torn open the answer to. Yes, it said that there are two kinds of beans, red and green. Put them in the pot and fry them. When they are done, the red beans and green beans are immediately separated. Ask why. Su Ilong's second brother read another question. Su Jian leaned his head to the back. Wei Wei looked up at the sky and pondered. The few old men next to her also narrowed their eyes and pondered. After a quarter of an hour, Su Jian said, "This question involves basic science. The color of the red beans and the green beans is not important. The important thing is the previous processing. Soak a kind of bean with the powder of a magnet and water, then slightly stick together. When the frying is done, put a magnet on the side under the pot, and the previously processed beans are attracted." Yes, this question is not simple. It is indeed Xiao Bao and Cuckoo who came up with it. I see. Su Ilong's second brother was enlightened. He happily waved to the person who was in charge of receiving the answer and waited for him to come closer. He told his grandpa's words and then waited with his chest puffed out. The person who was called bit his lip. The expression on his face seemed to be very painful as he tore the paper that was stuck with the answer bit by bit. He turned around and left in the blink of an eye. Su Ilong's second brother looked down and also showed a painful expression on his face. How is it? Su Jian asked. 2 beans. Su Ilong's second brother raised his hand and covered his face. Ha 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 ha. Ah. Baigo laughed heartily. He laughed so hard that he almost couldn't catch his breath. The other old men also laughed in different postures. After laughing for a while, Baigo held his stomach and said with difficulty, "Brother Yuan Gu is amazing. You are right. This question is not simple. It is indeed Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's child. I can't, I really can't, my stomach hurts, it hurts. Laugh until my intestines are broken." Su Jian's face was gloomy and he shouted at his grandson, "In the future, don't bring a question in front of me if you don't have a serious question. Go to the front and answer your question. I am sleepy." After that, Su Jian closed his eyes. Su Ilong's second brother had to take the paper and continue to be tortured in front. The old men began to be interested in the questions given by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They asked a few people to take a look and found that there were not only such funny questions, but also other strange questions. For example, there is a person in the east and west of the city. One day, they will meet at the foot of the mountain in the east of the city at noon to climb the mountain. There is a river in the city. That day, the water level rises. You are the person in the west of the city. When you meet the river, you will stop. If you take a detour to cross the bridge, you will arrive 3 minutes late. If you wait for a boat, you will arrive 4 minutes late. Ask, which one do you choose? For example, you are in charge of purchasing meat in the courtyard of an abandoned child. You buy meat one day. Shengguan Yan is a relative of the butcher surnamed Zhang in the west of the city. When you arrive at the west of the city, you see that the meat of the butcher surnamed Zhang is different but the price is the same. Ask, whose meat do you want to buy? For example, one day, you are paddling in the lake. Suddenly, you hear 2 people falling into the water. You can only save one. One is your son and the other is 6 students. Ask, which one do you want to save? When these questions were asked, some of them made people keep thinking, some of them were difficult to choose. Every choice must be made through the heart. Why do you ask this question? I am worried. Why don't you ask some questions? Why do you make it difficult for people? No, I have to ask them. After reading the questions, Bai Go jumped out of the small car and ran a few steps forward. He came to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's car and knocked on the door. Stop the car. Zhang Xiaobao ordered the car to stop. When he opened the door and saw Bai Go, he let him in. When the car started moving again, he asked with concern, Grandpa Bai, are you feeling unwell? Or are you bored? If it is the former, I will find someone to take a look at you. If it is the latter, you and I can play a game of chess. I am not feeling well. Bai Go took the tea from Wang Wan and said with a gloomy face. Oh, why don't you tell me so I can help you out? Zhang Xiaobao asked tentatively. Here. Bai Go put a roll of paper on the small table in front of him. You can help me. Look at the questions you gave. They are a mess. If there is a chance, I want to throw you into the river. Throw me. I am good at swimming. If it was Xiao Bei, I wouldn't be worried even if you tied his hands and feet and threw him into the river. Zhang Xiaobao agreed with a smile. Wang Wan put 2 plates of desserts in front of Bai Go and comforted him. It is just a question. Some of the questions make people feel uncomfortable, which shows that they are still human. Grandpa Bai, do you remember when we were fighting Tubo? Xiao Bao and I were in charge of logistics. We followed the troops to Pengzhou's pass with the supplies. This is the problem of the ratio between what we get and what you get and what you get and what you get with the bank. After our professional team's calculation, if you hand the money to us, we will get more money than if you put it in the bank and then go to the bank to get more money. So I'm telling you today that the biggest financial cheats in the world are the banks. The banks are financial scoundrels, financial hooligans, and financial bandits. Cooperating with the banks is definitely asking a tiger for its skin. Cooperating with us is a win-win situation. You and I don't need to beat the banks. We just need to make the profit of our money grow faster than the speed of social inflation. Well, that's all for today. Go back and ask the people in the bank if this is the case. If you believe in your own judgment and your own choice, you can look for our professional investment consultants. Thank you for coming. Goodbye. Zhang Xiaobao said a lot, took out a piece of paper, wrote something, and gave it to Wang Wan. Then, he waved his hand and left. Wang Wan was stunned and thought for a while. She gritted her teeth and muttered, "I knew you couldn't run away. Humph, luckily I came to Tang with you. Otherwise, it's hard to say what the bank's surname is. What year and where did you deceive me? Why are there no records? No, I have to ask carefully tonight. Xiaobao, what did you say to Cuckoo at the door? She looked like she was going to bite you." Bai Go just happened to walk over and saw the scene. "That's right. Otherwise, I would be lonely at night. Learn from me, old man." Zhang Xiaobao said and walked away quickly. "You said I'm old man. Stop right there." Bai Go was anxious and chased after him. After 2 steps, he suddenly stopped. He lowered his head and thought for a while. Then, he turned around and ran in front of the students who came out of the house. He carefully asked what Xiaobao said. After asking, Bai Go clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. How cunning. If I had chased after him, I wouldn't have been able to get anything out of him. After tricking the students, you tricked Cuckoo, and now you want to trick me? Humph, small fry. Hey, Cuckoo, come, I have something to tell you. Aw. Grandpa Bai, I have something to tell you too. Come here. Wang Wan invited Bai Go to walk for about 10 minutes. Then, she ran to the house next door to take out the tea set and poured tea for Bai Go. Bai Go drank a bowl and asked, "What's the matter?" Grandpa Bai, Xiaobao gave me a note before he left. He said that if you grandpas knew what he said, it would be easy for the students to be called back. So, he told me to stay at the door while he went to another intersection. If someone came, he could stop them. If they came from here, for example, you, he told me to take you away. Because at this time, all the students in your family have already gone to work. Even if you knew, you wouldn't know who went where. So, there's enough time. My mission is complete. Grandpa Bai, do you still want some snacks? Wang Wan explained to Bai Go with an embarrassed expression. She even passed the note to him. Bai Go, Maozhou's Tunghua County. Xiao Bei's group had not made any moves yet. Apart from them staying in the county city, the large group of people who had stayed outside and found a hidden place to set up camp. Shui Yun's family of 13 had also rushed over. After helping Xiao Bei's group of 9, they could also help the front line. The 9 children had already discussed. If necessary, Shui Yun would fly them up to the enemy's sky to record the enemy's military arrangements. After all, the adults were too heavy. It was very strenuous for Shui Yun to fly them, not to mention the other eagles. They couldn't even fly. The Qin family in the county was in a very tense atmosphere. Especially Qin Yaozu. Today, not only did they see the ceremonial procession of a third-rank official, they also felt the prestige of Xiao Bei and the others among the commoners. The usually honest commoners had such a huge reaction when they heard that Xiao Bei was bullied. If it wasn't for them shouting at the back not to beat him to death, the Qin family would probably be dead by now. "Sir, what should we do?" The county deputy, Qian Yusui, looked at the beating for a while and started to worry about his own affairs. He turned his head and whispered to Zhao Jianghao. "I think we should do this. Let's, you Suo, come here." Before Zhao Jianghao could finish his words, a few guards had already come to their side. Every 2 guards held onto one person's arm and walked to the side, not giving them a chance to talk and collude. Although there was no evidence to prove that the people in the yamen were not clean and had even broken the law, it could be estimated from the Chin family in the county that the people in the yamen were definitely not what they appeared to be on the surface. The 3 people in charge of the county yamen were taken away to assist in the investigation. The rest of the people were still waiting in the same place, not knowing what to do. At this time, a servant girl came over and said to them, "My wife and young master said that they know everything you have done. Now, I will give you a chance. If you confess, you will be given a lighter sentence. If you resist, you will be executed on the spot. Yes, you will be charged with the crime of deceiving the emperor. It depends on your performance. In a while, someone will come over to question you one by one. Now, don't make a sound and don't look at each other." After the servant girl finished speaking, she left. Someone came over with a pen and paper to record. The people in the yamen lowered their heads and didn't look at others. Some even squatted down with their hands on their heads, waiting for others to come and ask them. You will consider what things you can give and what information you can give. As long as the Chin family has benefits, as long as they can provide information materials, they are willing to trade. You do things for the country, and they do things for themselves. His family definitely had no excuse to say that they were doing this for the country. Otherwise, how could there not be a school in Tunghua County? The only thing left was the government's primary school. If the children wanted to enter, they had to be smart and be able to afford the tuition fees. If his family had organized the other people in the county to collectively farm, rented out the cattle they had exchanged for at a cheap price, built workshops, recruited people to build beautiful, neat, and sturdy houses for the craftsmen to live in, and led the people in the county to do business with the outside world. At the same time, they built the best school, gave the children the best food, the best clothes, and spent money to find a knowledgeable teacher. They planted herbs to subsidize the medical center. In that case, if Xiao Bei and the others went to investigate, even if they found evidence of him colluding with the enemy, what would the result be? There would be local people, jointly vouching for him. If Xiao Bei and the others wanted to take him away, they would have to explain to the people for a long time. If it was not Xiao Bei and the others who went, but other officials, it was very likely that they would be intercepted by the local people. Especially when Xiao Bei and the others saw that the children in the school were living a good life, they would have to consider how to help the Chin family reduce the punishment. In the end, if they handed him over to me, I would not be able to kill them. There was a high probability that they would be included in the intelligence system. Zhang Xiaobao answered frankly. Wang Wan also nodded. It was indeed so. Although there was a law, the fairness of the law had always been questioned. There would always be loopholes in the law because it was not detailed enough. Once the law was too detailed, it would lose the interests of the people who concentrated on social goods. Then, the law would not be successful. If the protection of the interests of these people was written in the detailed law, it would require the support of other people who had scarce goods. They were the majority, so they naturally would not agree. Consent represented the appearance of a class, and it was still protected by the law. What was the difference between that and the ethnic differences in India? What was the difference between that and the minority policies of Xiao Bao and herself? If there was no difference, how could the law be fair? Why should people support the absoluteness and independence of an unjust law? Losing these two characteristics would be a bad law. Therefore, the law had always been made for the majority of the people who could not resist the creation of the law. It was made to protect the fairness of the minority who had the majority of social goods and resources, and the majority who could not control the resources and could only control the minority of resources. To put it bluntly, the rich and powerful were protected by the law. When facing them, the people who did not have money and power could not ask for fairness through the law. The rich and powerful could get fairness through the law from people like them and from groups without power and money. The groups without money and power could only ask for fairness from people like them through the law. Then, under what circumstances could the disadvantaged group ask for fairness from the higher-ups? It was the people they asked for fairness who were abandoned by the higher-ups. In other words, it was not the law that protected the disadvantaged group to get fairness from the advantaged group, but another advantaged group. Therefore, when Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao dealt with issues related to the law, most of the time, they had to consider the benefits they would lose and gain before deciding whether to act according to the law. The two would consider breaking the law from the perspective of national interests, and at the same time, they made and supported the law from the perspective of national interests. It was ironic, but this was the reality of the human community. If it was explained in a classical philosophy of wisdom, it would be, people follow the law of earth, earth follows the law of heaven, heaven follows the law of Tao, and Tao follows the law of nature. What was nature? Baigo didn't think so much. Right now, he was thinking about the reality of the matter. He asked Zhang Xiaobao, if many merchants did what I just said, in the end, wouldn't they be allowed to collude with the enemy? Or perhaps they would be allowed to make mistakes while using the excuse of improving the local community's living standards to escape the punishment of the law. This is what it means to take bigger steps, to be a bit more daring. Regardless of whether the black and white paths get birds, rats and rats, that is, rats and rats, that is, woo-woo, xiao-bao, eat a snack. Once you're full, you'll only have the strength to cross the bridge of helplessness after cutting off your head. Come, drink some more tea, don't choke. Wang Wan stuffed a piece of date cake into Zhang Xiaobao's mouth. As she spoke, she brought him tea. Zhang Xiaobao swallowed the large piece of date cake with the tea. He smiled at Baigo and said, Cuckoo loves me dearly and is always afraid that I'll be hungry. Sorry for the ridicule. Grandpa Bai, I've thought about what you just said. When the war starts, I'll take care of it. To be honest, I'm not worried about colluding with the enemy at all. As long as His Majesty doesn't collude with the enemy, it's fine. Other countries don't have basic industries. Li Longji looked over and asked with his eyes. Yesterday afternoon, Xinluo presented a notice saying that our Bohai Commander-in-Chief's manor had stolen many of Xinluo's citizens. They wanted you to issue an edict ordering Jidushi Zhang to return them. The measures were a bit strong, which made you angry. When the blood pressure was measured, it was slightly higher, so they adjusted the diet. Today, your breakfast is a stall's flatbread, the kind that does not use oil and adds some cornmeal. There is also a bowl of wild vegetable soup. The side dishes are cucumber with garlic, cold celery, blanched bitter melon, and old vinegar radish skin. If you feel that it is not enough, you can add sesame paste powder skin and kelp knot. The eunuch's reply was more and more cautious. He couldn't help but swallow his saliva. He had not eaten breakfast himself. Li Longji did not immediately speak. Instead, he lowered his head and thought for a while. Suddenly, he smiled and said, Ever since Xiao Bao and the others came up with a health system, I have not been able to eat anything for a day. Can I apply to have you make me an extra roasted eggplant? Yes, Your Majesty. The eunuch ran out. He did not dare to say that he was helping to apply. If His Majesty wanted to eat more, then so be it. Eggplant was a vegetarian dish. When Li Longji was eating, Gao Lishir came. He had lost some weight. He was probably busy repairing the palace recently. Have you eaten, Lishir? Li Longji picked up his chopsticks and asked Gao Lishir. Your Majesty, I just ate with the people who worked last night. The dishes were not bad. There were braised pork knuckles and stewed chicken legs. Each of them also had a tail of white wine. I drank 2 tails of wine and ate 3 big steamed buns. Your Majesty, why are you eating so lightly? After Gao Lishir finished speaking, he looked at Li Longji's pitiful breakfast. Li Longji ate a piece of eggplant and drank a mouthful of wild vegetable soup. Even if Xiao Bao and Cuckoo die and reincarnate in Xinluo, their hearts will definitely be with the Tang Empire. They will definitely find a way to come back to you and prove their identity to you. Then, they will continue to support the affairs of the Tang Empire, right? Gao Lishir could only follow along and persuade him. Yes, yes, yes. Hercules, you've thought it through. Even if their bodies are not of the Tang Empire, their souls are still. I believe that even if they are at the ends of the earth, they will find a way to come back. With their abilities, no one can stop them. Even if they are further away, they will fly back like a balloon. I just need to wait patiently. Li Longji rubbed his stomach and said in a good mood. He stood up and walked out with Gao Lishir, intending to personally see the progress of the construction in the palace. Not long after they left, a voice came from behind, reporting. Zhang Xiaobei, Wang Xiaoyuan, and the other patrol inspectors called last night. Li Longji was happy at first, but then his face darkened. Why are you only showing me last night's telegram now? Your Majesty, it was too late last night. They didn't say that it was urgent and didn't want to disturb your rest. The person handed the telegram to Li Longji with both hands. Li Longji snatched it over and said, They aren't anxious, but how can I not be anxious? In the future, when they call Xiao Bao, they must immediately show it to me. It's actually colluding with the enemy. The Qin family is really unlucky. They hid in the remote Tonghua and were still caught by Xiao Bei and the others. TSK, TSK, TSK. Heaven's net has wide meshes. Look, I've said before that they are definitely unique to the Tang Empire. No one can snatch them away. The fate of the Tang Empire is clearly displayed on them. So many patrol inspectors couldn't find them, but they sneaked over and caught them. They even colluded with the enemy. If this isn't the fate of the Tang Empire, what is? Li Longji muttered to himself. Gao Lishir was waiting anxiously at the side. He wanted to take a look, but he was afraid that it would affect His Majesty's mood, so he could only continue to wait. Li Longji also continued to grumble. The value of the copied items is estimated to be 600,000 strings of coins. There are also a lot of cows and sheep, but they didn't give it to me. They said that it was enough to compensate for the official robes and salaries of the 2 families. It's just a bunch of small trinkets. As for the Gu family, they took back all the benefits that I've taken from them over the years. Lishir, don't you think it's very interesting? Yes, yes. Gao Lishir replied. At the same time, he rubbed his hands anxiously. Fortunately, he could tell from His Majesty's words that the little fellows had caught someone again. Furthermore, it was the crime of colluding with the enemy. It was a huge crime. Not bad. After being greedy for money, they took it out and asked me to help organize a competition for the children of the Tang Empire. They wanted to cultivate a love for the Tang Empire from the moment they were children. Hee, they actually drew my head so big and my body so small. Lishir, can you guess who drew this? Oh, here, take a look for yourself. As Li Longji spoke, he realized that there was a problem. Gao Lisher also waited for him to take a look, so he casually passed it over. Gao Lisher was very surprised. There was a drawing on a telegram. He took a look and saw that there was indeed a drawing of a cartoon with a big head. Below was an explanation of the drawing. It was a square drawing of 20 centimeters on each side, 3 centimeters on the top, 5 centimeters on the left, a horizontal line. 2 centimeters on the left, 3 centimeters on the bottom, 5 centimeters on the left, 4 centimeters on the bottom, a 39-degree arc. After reading it, Gao Lisher suddenly understood and said, "So that's how it is. It's really a waste of telegram resources." Your Majesty, this subject thought that it was Xiao Bei who suggested that Xiao Zhu draw the drawing and Xiao Hai calculate the location. The location where the telegram was received must have been drawn by someone else. To be able to use data to replace intuition, Xiao Hai's skill is really impressive. Look at the content, look at the content. Li Longji really didn't think about the cartoon drawing before. At this moment, he was equally shocked. Gao Lisher quickly finished reading the content of the telegram. His mood was the same as Li Longji's, very happy. Li Longji said, "Reply, I approve. Let them help me catch more bad guys over there. When they come back, I allow them to take a picture with me, just like when they draw for me. The kind with my autograph, After receiving the order, the person who delivered the telegram turned around and ran out to deliver the report. Li Longji and Gao Lisher once again walked towards the construction site. However, just as they walked a short distance, another person who delivered the telegram hurried over. "Your Majesty, Zhang Xiaobao has sent a telegram." Li Longji's expression became serious. Zhang Xiaobao's telegram was different from Zhang Xiaobei's, so it must be something important. He took a look at it and said to Gao Lisher, "Why else would I say that when I dreamt that they were born in Xinluo, I would wake up in fright? Xiao Bao is always scheming against people. Take a look." Gao Lisher took a look and nodded vigorously. The content of the telegram was very simple. To be precise, it was a supplement to the telegram sent by Xiao Bei and the others. Why did it have to be the children of the Great Tang to hold a children's competition? In line with the Great Tang's care as a superior country, it was better to invite the children of Japan, Xinluo, and other small countries in the southwest to participate in the finals in the capital. 100,000 people from Xinluo, 200,000 from Japan, and 50,000 from the southwest could come in families to participate in the friendly competition in the Great Tang. At the same time, they could tour the capital of the superior country. All the expenses would be paid by the Great Tang. Each person would also be given a gift worth no less than 100 strings of coins, 2 sets of exquisite clothes, a set of fine glassware, and a medicine box that would be prepared at home, including commonly used medicines. If the participants had outstanding results, there would be more valuable prizes and rewards from the emperor of the superior country. Gao Lisher understood the purpose of Zhang Xiaobao's plan in the telegram. Oh, it was not a plan. It was a plan to appease the surrounding countries, the kind that could show friendship. Xiao Bao called a few days ago and said that they had invited important people from Japan to the Great Tang for a tour. It must be to cooperate with Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao must have known what Xiao Bei and the others were going to do and chased after them. This way, they can go and hunt for duo food in peace. Gao Lisher analyzed the situation. Lisher, do you think that if they come to the capital, they won't cause trouble when Cuckoo fights duo food? Li Longji asked. Precisely. No. Li Longji shook his head. Has Minister forgotten Xiao Bao's style of coming up with plans? Style? Is His Majesty saying that his plans are always chained together? Gao Lisher looked at the telegram again and shook his head. How could this subject not see it? Perhaps Xiao Bao did not think it through and was just casually coming up with a plan. No matter how Gao Lishir looked at it, Xiao Bao wanted to use money to attract people and then numb the surrounding countries so that they would not be disturbed when he dispatched his troops. Moreover, the amount of money used was not small. The travel expenses, accommodation, and food in the capital, as well as the gifts, added up to more than 30 million strings of coins. All of this was for the sake of obtaining victory on another battlefield, using money to buy time.